Welcome to the Daily Plunge. We are in the book of Psalms. We're looking at Psalm 30. It starts off by saying, I will exalt you, Lord, Yahweh, God of the covenant. And the first question we should ask is, do we exalt God? I mean, more than just on Sundays. Do we recall all the times God pulled us out of the muck, when God kept our enemies from gloating over us, when he kept us from being ashamed, when the Lord healed us, when the Lord brought us from the dead, and when the Lord spared us from the pit of hell. I mean, this isn't just like a one-time thing. I mean, think about how your shame for your sin, God redeems you from that. Think about how the Lord has healed you, maybe not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually. Think about how the Lord has brought you from the dead because the Lord has raised you up from sin. Because if you're in sin, you're on a clear path to eternal death. And how God pulled you out of the pit of hell, out of damnation, by giving you grace. So we should be singing God's praise all the time. In verse 4, sing his praise, you his people. Now your text may say his faithful ones. Well, the text, the Hebrew text says God's godly people, or his holy ones. Well, how are we godly or holy? Because we're clinging to the Lord, right? And so we are praising the source of the holy. We're praising his holy name, God's holy character. And then he goes on to say, and this is David, who is the psalmist, saying, you know, God's anger or wrath is momentary. God's weeping, you know, our weeping might be for a night or for our dark time. And to think about how God's wrath for us may be destructive, but it's not meant to be eternal. It's meant to turn us towards his eternal grace. And so it says, but his anger comes, but, here comes the gospel, but his blessing is eternal. But rejoicing comes in the morning. So we have the law and the judgment, and then we have that gospel but, right? But rejoicing in our salvation comes right after that. And he goes on in verse 6, when I was confident in myself, thinking, oh, I'm never going to be shaken. You know, God's favor had put me on that royal mountain where I was standing firm. And this is David talking. What are the things in your life you think, oh, I really got this all together, right? God has blessed me. And then you assumed that it was you. That the confidence that came from God became, my arrogant self-confidence. And so God took away his blessing and let me figure that out on my own. And so when God hid his face, I was shook, right? I was dismayed. And this is like out of Deuteronomy, where it says either you're going to remember God and recognize all the blessings that his grace has given you, or you can forget him and perish, as it says in chapter 30. And so to you, Lord, the covenant God, the God of the promises, I called. And I was calling on your promises, God. That's right. I belong to you. You belong to me because you're my God. And I cried out to you in mercy, Lord. And I reminded you, how's that going to work on your ledger? How does that benefit or give you a gain if I'm silenced and I can't praise you? If I go down to the pit, what are people going to say? So what good does it do to God to allow one of his holy ones to perish? Who's going to praise you? Who's going to proclaim your faithfulness? The dirt, right? You turned my wailing into dancing. You turned my defeat into a victory. You removed my sad sack, my sackcloth, and clothed me instead with joy, the joy of redemption. And so I didn't go down into the pit, so I'm not silent. My heart and my being sings your joy. My whole being is filled with the joy of rejoicing and praising God, because the Lord, the covenant, the promising God is my God, and I'm going to praise him for eternity. Thanks, friends. Have a blessed day.